Welcome back for Q-Score. Thanks for watching. This is show number 2, and I just returned from the Sundance Film Fest, so we're going to be talking about that today. Skiing, films, swag, schmoozing, all top-notch in that Sundance Film Fest. And you people in Park City, you're going to get your time back on Sunday when all the film people finally leave the building. I know you're excited about finding a parking spot. Anyway, one of the big buzz films this year at Sundance was Imperial Dreams, directed by Sundance Lab alum Malik Fatal. The score was composed by DJ producer Flying Lotus, a.k.a. Steven Ellison, who in a weird musical legacy twist is the nephew of Alice Coltrane. So he's obviously got it in his blood. And in another musical legacy connection, the film's music supervisor Tiffany Anders comes from great film stock. Let's meet our guest and discuss. Welcome back to our second show for 2014 Sundance edition, and we're sitting here with the beautiful and talented Tiffany Anders. Hello, Tiffany.
Hi.
So Tiffany is music supervisor who is of great lineage herself. She kind of grew up in the film and music business. Her mother is director Allison Anders, who's doing a lot of TV now, but directed some seminal indie films, like Gas, Food, and Lodging, and then her big breakthrough was the first film you worked on, I believe, Grace of My Heart, where you worked with an old friend of mine, Karen Rackman, who's a great, great supervisor.
Yep.
Tell us about that experience, working with someone like Karen, who is a great creative person, and in between that and your mom and learning the game.
Well, Grace of My Heart was kind of my first sort of itching at wanting to do, or introduction to wanting to do music supervision, and Karen was definitely a big inspiration. That film, they had a lot of pre-records, so there was stuff that it was about a songwriter in the 60s, so the concept was that they would pair an old songwriter from the Brill Building era with a new songwriter, which is, it formed the collaboration between Burt Bacharach and Elvis Costello.
That's where that started?
That's where that started.
Wow, that's a good little
on
trivia
Grace of
nugget.
My Heart. Yep.
Interesting.
And so I also wrote a song for the film, and it was very exciting for me because I was 19 years old. We did all the pre-records in the Capitol Records building in the studios. So I was in Studio A.
Wow.
They had a lot of studio musicians that played on all those records. I mean, the Beach Boys backing singers, if you can believe it, they did have backup
They've
vocalists.
never left Capitol Studios. They've been there ever since.
Yeah, they came in. I mean, it was all these kind of legendary musicians, and Karen was very much a part of that. And I was kind of helping give ideas of the new musicians to use, to pair up.
And who did you recommend?
I recommended Jay Mascis, who was in Dinosaur Jr.
Sure.
I was a big fan, and so he wrote a couple songs, Beach Boys inspired stuff. There was a girl band from Seattle called Juned, and they did a song as well. So it was actually really Karen who said, Tiffany needs to be a music consultant on the film. And it kind of got me interested.
So she got your credit and then just took off from there.
It kind of got me totally interested in doing.
But then you
this
took
job.
a little left field lane, right, and moved to New York and started making music.
I did,
and
yes.
And you were lucky enough to get PJ Harvey to work with you and produce your record.
Yep.
So talk about how that happened and working with someone like PJ Harvey.
Well, that's a very interesting story. I was living in New York. My mother had met PJ Harvey on just like she was interested in acting at some point, and their manager,
general meeting, as they call it in Hollywood.
Yeah, it was a very general meeting. And my mom just thought that her and I would really hit it off, like our personality-wise, and that I would be really inspired by her. And I thought, well, it's PJ Harvey, she's this huge talent, and she was in New York, and my mom happened to be in New York, and we had a dinner. I had dinner with the two of them, and I gave her an EP that I had done, and she liked the EP, and she wrote to my mom about it, and just said that that she liked it. And then I was randomly walking down Avenue A one day, and I had a demo of my 4-track recordings that I just recorded, and I was listening to them, playing it back on my Walkman, just taking a walk through the East Village, and she was walking right towards me.
Wow.
And so I
Kismet?
I took it out of my thing, and I was like, here's some music I just made, if you're, and she really, really loved it, and she asked my mom, she wrote to my mom again, so when is she playing around? I'm in New York for the summer, and I was at the time playing a lot of shows. And so she came to every show that I played and really supported me. And then I was set to make the album of what I had been demoing.
What was the album called again?
It was called Funny Cry Happy Gift.
Funny Cry Happy Gift.
And so she just kind of, I asked her if she would be interested in producing, and she said, I was hoping that you would ask me, but I didn't want to present it to you because I didn't want to come off too presumptuous.
Of course.
Which I thought was very sweet.
Right, for someone like of that stature, right?
Yeah. So we've remained really close friends, and yeah, it was definitely a great experience for me.
And so, how did you segue back to supervision?
After living in New York for a long time and struggling there, I decided to come back to LA, and meanwhile, my mom had been making other films, and she had asked for my help a lot. She'd asked me for music advice and, bands and things that she might be able to get cheaper.
You're the hipness quotient.
Yeah. So I was like,
indie budgeted films need indie budgeted music.
Yes, exactly. So she was asking me a lot for advice, and I remembered the Grace of My Heart experience, and I kind of just thought, I want to get back into this and see what it all entails.
Sure.
And I knew that, it wasn't just a strictly creative job, that it was, learning the business and learning how to clear music and all that stuff, because I'd seen my mom's heart broken so many times by things that she couldn't clear.
Yeah.
So I knew there was a component of that, and I just really wanted to learn more about it and get involved with it. So when I came back to LA, I worked at a licensing company, Natural Energy Lab.
Danny
Benaire.
One of the greatest.
Yep.
Former 3 o'clock drummer.
Yes.
They had their big reunion last year.
I know.
This is great.
I know. I was so excited.
Yeah.
I love Danny, and Danny really taught me a lot of, of how it all worked. And then I worked for Karen Rackman again, and then I just started doing these. I did a movie with Drake Doremus called Douchebag that got into Sundance.
It's funny about Douchebag when you pull up Douchebag, because I was looking it up. The 2010 movie called Douchebag comes up, and I can't find your douchebag.
Really?
Just a random little douchebag aside, because I don't get to say that word very often in the context,
know.
and I've always enjoyed that word, and it's a funny, interesting word. Yeah, so that kind of kept going and propelled you, and you just kind of kept going, right?
Yep. And then from that time, I just kept doing these indie films, no budget indie films.
Yeah, I know the drill. So tell us about your Sundance film. I mean, I was looking at Buzz Films and Sundance, and your film Imperial Dreams is one of those films. Tell us about Malik, who's the director, and how the whole film got started for you.
So Imperial Dreams, well, Malik had gone through the Sundance Lab, and the producers who produced Like Crazy and Smashed and Nobody Walks, these are all films that I worked on with them. And they tend to work with really interesting new directors. And so Imperial Dreams had, I think the script had been through the Sundance Lab. And the story is about a young man who gets out of jail, who might have been involved with some gang activity in a life of crime. He lives in Watts. He comes back and he has to take care of his son. And he has many elements of that life that are trying to pull him back in, and he's struggling with trying to create a better life for his son. And it's really kind of it's a story of struggle and trying to, you know, create a better life for his son and also try and create a better life for himself. That's, you know, he wants to be a writer, and he's kind of making his way towards that, and there's a lot of influences that are
Sure.
pulling him in different
And then how did
directions.
Flying Lotus get involved? There's a great DJ composer. How did he come into the mix?
Flying Lotus, Malik and Flying Lotus have been friends. I think they're like childhood friends for a long time. Wow. And, you know, once I had heard about Flying Lotus's involvement, I definitely wanted to be involved because I'm a huge fan of his. And I've always thought that his music is very cinematic anyways, so
Sure is.
I was very interested to see.
Is that the first film he's done, or has he done other films?
He has done another film, which I'm not totally familiar with, and I know that he's done some stuff for Adult Swim, like some...
Right, he does the bumpers on Adult Swim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is, you know, this is a dramatic movie with, you know, dramatic score, and he just did a really amazing job, and I'd be very interested to see what he does in the future because I think he's so great at.
So he has that natural cinematic ability.
It's perfect, you know, and it's interesting stuff because it's not stuff that you typically hear, you know, in terms of score. You know, there's a lot of directions that he could have taken that could have been, you know, overly dramatic, or, you know, but he makes everything very interesting, and everything still has this very bittersweet, soulful quality to it.
Sure.
But it's all interesting, and yeah, he's just a phenomenal talent.
Yeah, sounds like a cool thing.
Yeah.
And what else do you have coming up in the future? Anything you working on coming up?
I'm slated to work on Drake Doremus's new film called The Equals, which is a sci-fi love story.
Wow.
It's beautiful script. Nathan Parker, who wrote Moon, wrote it. The stories was developed with Drake Doremus. And I'm also going to work on James Ponsolt's new movie. These are both directors that I worked on their movies that were at Sundance.
Sure.
His new movie is called The End of the Tour, and it's about David Foster Wallace and the writer David Lipsky, who from Rolling Stone, who went to interview him on a book tour. So
you've got cool projects coming up.
Yeah, I'm excited.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming in for our Sundance edition of Q Score.
Thank you for having me.
We'll look out for your work and just keep us posted on what's happening.
Right on.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, we'll see you next time. Thank you guys so much. Keep watching, please. Q Score. See you next time. For more Q Score, please check us out at emPOWERme.tv to find out what goes on behind the curtain and how the film and TV music gets made. It happens right here. Tune in.